Hi, Shavua Tov. We are going to study now an amazing Sicha from the Rebbe, which was first said in the year Tafshin Mem Aleph, 1981, around the date of Kaf Marcheshvan, which is the birthday of Admor HaRashab, the fifth Admor of the Lubavitcher Hasidus. Kaf Marcheshvan always falls around the time of Parashat Chayei Sarah, and therefore our Sicha is around Parashat Chayei Sarah. The Parsha begins with the following verse: ויהיו חיי שרה 100 שנה ו20 שנה ו7 שנים שני חיי שרה. If we'll translate it, it reads as follows: And Sarah was 107 and 20 years old. These were the years of the life of Sarah. All commentators ask, why do we have this duplicity, the duplication at the beginning of the verse and at the end of the verse? And Admor HaRashab, in his Ma'amar, brings a very interesting text from the Holy Zohar, the book of the Zohar, which says, מפני מה בשרה דווקא נאמר ימי שני חייה. Why only Sarah had the privilege of being defined as the days of her life? ועד שכל הפרשה נקראת על שם זה, חיי שרה. That the whole parsha is named after the life of Sarah. And this was never said about the other holy mothers that we have. And the Holy Zohar says, Ata Chava le'alma v'itdavkat bechivya. Chava came to the world and she got involved with the snake. Ata Noach le'alma maktiv bei vayesht min hayayin vayishkar. Noah came to the world, but he drank from the wine and became drunk. Atat Sarah v'nachatat v'salkat v'lo itdavkat bei. Sarah came to the world, she went down and then she went up, and she wasn't involved in anything bad. As the verse says, ויעל אברהם ממצרים הוא ואשתו. Abraham and Sarah both went to Egypt, went down to Egypt, and came back from Egypt to the land of Israel. ובגין כך, the Holy Zohar says, זכתה לחיים מלאים. Sarah had the privilege of supreme life. And the Holy Zohar ends the text, ועלדה דילה הבו חיים. And therefore, her life was real life. So far is the text from the Holy Zohar. Admor HaRashab talks about this text and explains, only Sarah had the privilege of being her life was described, the length of her life was described in the Holy Torah, unlike the other four mothers. לפי שדווקא שרה, על ידי שנחתת וסלקת, זכתה לחיים מלאים. Just because Sarah had the journey of going down and going up, nachatat vesalkat, she went down and she went up. This is why she had the right, the privilege to have a supreme life. ומה שכפל עוד הפעם לומר שני חיי שרה, אף שכבר נאמר בתחילה ויהיו חיי שרה, the duplication at the beginning of the verse and at the end of the verse is because ויהיו חיי שרה, ומה שזכתה לחיים מלאים. The beginning of the verse, which mentions the number of the years of Sarah, indicates that she had a supreme life. ושני חיי שרה, the summary of the verse, comes to say, דילה הבו חיים. She had the life became hers. And therefore, the Rebbe now asks, we need to understand what this is all about. And also, we need to understand why the Holy Zohar connects Chava, Noah, and Sarah as if they handled the same matter, the same issue. What was the common denominator between them? And then here begins the Rebbe, מעשה אבות סימן לבנים. the deeds of our holy fathers and mothers are a symbol for us, are a sign for us, their children. And the symbol here is not a symbolic symbol, but an actual giving of strength. What our parents did for us, our holy fathers and mothers, they were the pioneers. They paved the road for us. And whatever they succeeded in doing, we gained the capability, the internal ability to perform ourselves. And the issue here, as the Rebbe says, is that we need to work God with happiness, בשמחה גדולה. As it says in the book of Psalms, עבדו את השם בשמחה. You need to worship God in happiness. ועד שהשמחה בעבודת השם עיקר גדול. Happiness is a basic cornerstone in the work of God. And we also know about Ha'ari HaKadosh, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, that testifies on himself that the fact that he had the Holy Spirit, Ruach HaKodesh, was because every mitzvah that he did with happiness, with joy, with he enjoyed doing it, and therefore he won Ruach HaKodesh. And the Rebbe says, since we learned this story, since it became famous, it becomes not just a story, it becomes a Torah shebe'al peh. And Torah is from the word hora'ah. It's not just a story, it is a decision, it is a guidance for us. And therefore, it's relevant for each and every Jew, this concept. So when you work God, when you worship God from happiness, from joy, then your work, your spiritual work is done completely, is done in the full manner. And although God created the world perfect from the first place, still the people of Israel, by their work, their spiritual work in the world, are adding completion to the world, are making the world even higher than what it was created. They are adding the spiritual level to lift up the world to a much higher place. And how do they do it? By working God with joy. And therefore, the worship of God with happiness and joy is a basic cornerstone. And when you work God, you worship God, but not with the full extent of happiness, actually, you need even to be punished about it. Because the whole thing is to bring down the holy lights of God into the world. And the only way you can do it, the Rebbe tells us, is by happiness. But still, it also says, עבדו את השם ביראה. You need to fear God. So what should we do more? Fear God or work God with happiness and joy? And the Rebbe tells us that in the same verse, which starts with עבדו את השם ביראה, it ends with וגילו ברעדה. And you need to be happy out of a little of fear. So you need to work God out of fear, out of yirah, but you need to be happy with that same momentum, with that same feeling. Therefore, when happiness is the most prominent feeling that you have, if only happiness is there, you can become egoistic. You can, the happiness can bring you down to unwanted affairs. And therefore, you need to worship God ביראה. You need to fear God, וגילו ברעדה, and be happy together with that fear. If you do this combination, this mixture of happiness together with the fear of God, שמחה בהשם, ביחד עם יראת השם, therefore you make the happiness come from the point of view of humbleness. And as it says, the verse says, ויאספו ענבים בהשם שמחה. Happiness comes together with a feeling of humbleness, humility, or the person needs to feel that they are not egoistic, they are not full of themselves. So, Admor HaRashab in his Ma'amar explains what we learned from the Holy Zohar. Chava, Noach, Vesara. The common denominator of all three is that they wanted to apply the concept of happiness into the world. Chava, one of the explanations as to the tree of knowledge that she gave to Adam to eat from the fruit of that tree, one of the explanations is that it was actually a grape. And she took a bunch of grapes and made wine from it and gave to Adam. In Noach, it reads clearly, Vayita kerem vayesht min hayayin. Noach planted a vineyard and drank from the wine, because wine is happiness. As it says, Yain hamesameach Elokim ve'anashim. Wine makes both men and God happy. אלא שבחווה הייתה השמחה בבחינת מורגש. Chava tried to win the happiness, but she did it not from the right place. Therefore it says, ותראה האישה כי טוב העץ למאכל וכי תאווהו. The fruit of that tree became something that she wanted to possess. She wanted to own. And once it comes to a place of possession, of feeling that you need to have this thing, then it became not a good thing. It became something which is leading to the feeling of egoism, the feeling of wanting to own it, to control it. Then came Noah. Noah also wanted to try and correct what was done wrong with the fruit of the tree that Chava gave to Adam. And he tried to do it also with wine, but he again missed the point. And the wine made him drunk instead of bringing him to the point of feeling of happiness, which is from the humbleness. Therefore, he also did not succeed in correcting this original sin. Then came Sarah, and Sarah, so the Zohar says, was able to fix the original sin because Sarah, nachatat vesalkat, she came down, but then she was able to rise up again. Sarah, the Zohar tells us, Sarah comes also from the word malchut, majesty. Therefore, Sarah milshon srara, majesty or rule in Hebrew. And malchut is that sphere, that holistic sphere, spiritual sphere out of the 10 spheres, which is the creator. The malchut is that one sphere that can create the world underneath it, as we learn in Seder HaIshtalshelut in the Kabbalah. Therefore, Sarah represents Malchut. Malchut represents the feeling of humbleness, the fact that a person can completely annihilate themselves and have no egoism inside, no feeling of selfishness. Therefore, Sarah was the one who was able to do the correction or the fix to the sin of the tree of knowledge. And therefore, the Rebbe tells us something amazing, that the happiness of Sarah was a happiness of humbleness. And that happiness is connected to the happiness that we will all have in the coming redemption. As the verse says, Az yimales chok pinu. So in the upcoming future, happiness will be complete. It will fill our mouth. And even the happiness that we have now cannot be compared to the happiness and joy that we will feel לעתיד לבוא, in the days of the redemption. אז ימלא שחוק פינו. Our mouth will be filled with happiness. And therefore, it explains to us also why the son of Abraham and Sarah, that both prayed for him so long and so much, this son is called Isaac, Yitzchak. Yitzchak in Hebrew is from the word tzchok. And tzchok, as the verse says, Sarah calls him Yitzchak al shem tzchok asa li Elokim. God rejoiced me. And therefore, עניינו של בנם של שרה ואברהם הוא צחוק ושמחה. The whole point of their son, the son that was born to them when they were already very, very old in age, is happiness, pure happiness. Therefore, he is called Yitzchak, and it is also explaining to us why in the future it says, לעתיד לבוא יאמרו ליצחק דווקא כי אתה אבינו. In the redemption, so our sages tell us, we will say to Yitzchak Avinu, you are our father, and not Jacob and not Abraham. You are. Why? Because Yitzchak represents the laughter, the happiness that will prevail in the redemption. And what is the concept of humbleness that we've mentioned? The fact that a person needs to rejoice and be happy, but not from the feeling of himself, of selfishness, but from the other side of it, from feeling humble. Our sages tell us that being humble doesn't mean that you feel you are worthless. You have nothing to give to the world. On the contrary, a humble person, according to Judaism, is that person who knows exactly what he is worth. He knows what are his strengths. He also knows what are his weaknesses. But his strengths do not make him feel important. He doesn't feel he is somebody. He doesn't feel he is superior to others. Why? Because like it says on Moses, Moses knew exactly who he is. He knew how spiritual, how high he is. He is called Isha Elokim, the man of God. He was very high spiritually and had the privilege of being the utmost prophet of the Jewish people. But still, he was Anav Mikol Adam al Pnei Adama. He was the humblest person on earth, as the Holy Torah tells. How come? Because he always felt that if someone else had won his strength, his capabilities, that someone would gain even a higher level of spiritualism than he. And therefore, the real joy in Judaism, the real happiness is being humble, meaning you understand that everything that you have, all your strength and your weaknesses, anything that you can achieve in the world, all the capabilities that you gained are not yours. They are a gift from God. And if they are such, then you know to appreciate them correctly. And therefore, Sarah represents the utmost mother, the Holy Mother, because she had the supreme life, as the Holy Zohar tells us. And her 127 years were full of this supreme life. And she gave this capability, this amazing ability of going down and then going up, ירידה לצורך עלייה, together with Abraham. She gave it as a gift, or she inherited that capability to every Jew ever since. And therefore, it says, נעשה דילה הבו חיים. The life was hers, as the Zohar says. Why? Because Sarah lived a life worth living. And when you live such a life, you are full of joy. you are full of happiness. And this is why Isaac, Yitzchak, which on the one hand was from the side of Gvura, he was from the side of fear of God, from that left side in the Holy Kabbalah ladder. He comes from the left side, unlike Abraham, but still he represents the essence of life, the full concept of life, as it says, ונחיה לפניו שיהיה לעתיד לבוא. We shall live that way in the redemption. ומעשה אבות סימן לבנים, שהעבודה דשרה עמנו היא נתינת כוח והוראה לכל אחד ואחד מישראל, שיוכל לעבוד את השם בשמחה ובהתגלות. What our holy fathers and mothers did is a symbol for us. And it's not just a symbol, as we said, it's also a pioneering road. It comes to pave us the road. And the work that Sarah did in the world became a message for every Jew that he can worship God with rejoice, with happiness, with real happiness and real joy that are not based on selfishness, but on the contrary. And therefore, when a person bases his work of his spiritual work, his connection to God on joy and happiness, he gains stronger and stronger capabilities, stronger and stronger connection to God, until he can break any glass roof that is there and climb the ladder, the spiritual ladder, all the way up. And the Rebbe promises that when you do that, על ידי זה נעשה גם תגבור את החיים כפשוטו, אריכות ימים ושנים טובות בפשטות. When a person lives his life, his spiritual life in the same manner, his physical life will also gain a better quality, and he will live longer and happier life, the Rebbe says, and he ends this amazing Sicha in the following sense, in the following sentence. ועל ידי השמחה בעשיית המצווה, כולל גם בקיום הציווי וכל מעשיך יהיו לשם שמיים, ובכל דרכיך דאהו, יפרצו את גדרי הגלות, ואת תימר דמלכה משיחה, דוד מלך ישראל, יחד עם משה רבינו ראיה מהימנה, שהרי גואל ראשון וגואל אחרון. So by rejoicing in the mitzvot that we have, including the general rule that says, וכל מעשיך יהיו לשם שמיים, anything you do will be when you think of God, when you relate it to God, ובכל דרכיך דאהו, anything that you do on your daily life needs to be with the awareness of God. If you obey to these rules, we will break all the fences of exile, and Mashiach will come, which is David, king of Israel, together with Moses. שהרי גואל ראשון וגואל אחרון. The first redeemer is also the last redeemer, including Moshe Rabbeinu שבכל דור ודור. The essence of Moshe, which exists in every generation in the Jewish people, עד לראיה מהימנה של דורנו, וכבוד קדושת מורה וחמי אדמו"ר, נשיא דורנו. Until the sixth Rebbe of Chabad, Admor Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson, was the father-in-law of our Rebbe, and together we will get the holy blessing from God. הקיצו ורננו שוכני עפר, ועמהם יחד נלך לקבל פני משיח צדקנו, ושמחת עולם על ראשם במהרה בימינו ממש. Together with all our holy fathers and mothers and rabbis, we will see the resurrection and go to meet Mashiach Tzidkenu, our Messiah, with simchat olam al rosham, with the eternal happiness, bimhera beyameinu mamash. Amen ve'amen.